People love Frazzle because it's more dense, almost like when a snow cone starts to melt and you can kind of drink it, more substantial. And one of the things they love about it most is that it's the same texture all the way through.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Danny Laria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. And in this week's episode, we'll be speaking with Sam Owens, the chief marketing officer of Frazzle, a frozen blended beverages company that is coming to a cinema near you. Some really interesting products in that technology. I had an espresso martini from them at last week's Cine Show in Dallas, Texas. Really, really interesting addition to the concession stand. But before we get there, we are going to be reviewing the latest release date changes, some of the highlights of the upcoming September box office, and we'll also be going over the numbers for summer 2025, which unfortunately was flat to down compared to 2024. Not the best result, as summer 2025 fizzled in the waning weeks at the box office here. Let's start the way we usually do here with our colleagues Rebecca Polly and Chad Kennerk forming our panel this week. I'm going to ask what I ask you guys every week. Chad, what did you watch last weekend?
I saw Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's film with Austin Butler. I do think it's his most accessible mainstream film that we've seen. It's very gritty as well. It's violent and maybe not for everybody, but I had a blast. I thought it was really fun. It seems like a nice reminder of his roots from Pi and Requiem for a Dream, kind of going back to that New York setting. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's nice to see him kind of cut loose and do something a little different, where we think of him as such a serious director.
Rebecca Polly, what did you watch over the weekend?
So, Chad, you went and saw a gritty, violent New York movie. I saw a goopy, violent New Jersey movie, Toxic Avenger. It was good. It was what I expected it to be, which is fun, over the top, lots of goop. Yeah, it was a good time.
Lots of goop. That's all you need sometimes. Maybe that should have been in the tagline for the title.
There's still
Toxic
time.
Avenger.
There's still time for the Blu-ray release.
Cineverse, get that pull quote from Rebecca Polly. You know how to get in touch. We do have a number of release date changes on the calendar here, Chad, beginning with a film that I know you're really looking forward to, coming out from Searchlight Pictures, the new movie from this time director Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Is This Thing On is Bradley Cooper's next film. Searchlight added that to the calendar for December 19th of this year.
That's an awards play, right? You have to look at that release date from Searchlight and think, it's an awards play. It's great to see Bradley Cooper outside of the Netflix ecosystem and releasing an awards contender in theaters during Christmas time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
We've got Ice Age Boiling Point now coming out through 20th Century Studios, a new Disney rebranded division of former Fox units. That is going to be coming out on February 5th, 2027. It is moving from its original release date of December 18, 2026. And Rebecca, later on here on this list, we've got an update from Walt Disney on an animation title that has a new title, basically, to make things redundant.
First title, yeah. So it was previously, the title was unannounced. Now it is Hexed, coming out November 25th, 2026. If it's going for kind of like a spooky vibe, maybe that November release date really, I think, speaks to confidence versus maybe dumping something that's more horror themed for children, obviously, into September or something like that.
The log line is that it's a teenage oddball and his mom discover that he has hidden magic, and it somehow transports them to a place where he can use this magic.
Okay, that sounds Disney.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is this that Disney title that is going up against the Narnia IMAX run from Netflix in Thanksgiving 2026? I think this is the one where you're going to be able to pick, do I go with the Netflix movie or, do I pay attention to the guys that are always on my side? Not saying anything here other than it's your choice. Exhibitors, pick whatever makes best sense.
Imagine telling us a couple of years ago that would be the phrasing for Disney.
It's so unfortunate, I think, that someone like Greta Gerwig, and I know that you've got the Noah Baumbach collaborations, obviously her partner, co-screenwriter on the Barbie movie. Noah Baumbach's now gone into the let's just make movies for Netflix David Fincher career arc, which is maybe less disappointing than the Fincher thing, because Noah Baumbach movies have always traditionally been, let's say, more specialty plays. But still, I wish Exhibition had a fair shot at Narnia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us feel the same way. But if you don't want to book it in your IMAX screen, or if you don't want to give your streaming competitor free publicity, you've got a new Disney movie that you can support in Thanksgiving 2026 coming up. And before I forget here, this is a big twist on the calendar. The first trailer, the Red Band trailer for Mortal Kombat 2, had already come out weeks ago, had scored massive viewership numbers. The marketing campaign is underway. Warner Brothers, less than 8 weeks before the scheduled release of Mortal Kombat 2 on October 24th, 2025, moving that title to May 15, 2026.
Which is a bold release date. I wonder why they didn't pick it earlier if they had confidence in the product to that extent. But I mean, I think it looks great. I was looking forward to seeing it this October. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, same.
It's tough to improve on the perfection of the Paul W.S. Anderson one, but this one definitely looked better than the previous Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I have thoughts.
Yeah, I know. I have a soft spot for those 90s Mortal Kombat movies. Even the first Mortal Kombat movie in this iteration, that was my return to New York City movie-going movie. If you remember, it was one of the first titles to actually play in the city.
Yeah.
Reopened in the pandemic. I saw that at the Regal Cinema Union Square. That was a cool experience. But no more Mortal Kombat 2 in October. The movie's now moving over to May. I don't know how to read this, guys. When you make a move this big, and after having a marketing campaign that's already launched, you've already engaged your core fans, you have to start thinking, is this a reshoot? Is there an issue here that we have to consider? At the same time, if they're looking at the marketing numbers and the engagement numbers and they're seeing a big uptick, I think May is going to be a better release date than October. I think you're going to get more of the pre-summer movie-going crowds to go then. It just seems like a hasty decision, or maybe a decision took way too long to make. You have to make this decision 6 months ago or not make it at all. People might be asking themselves come May, hey, I saw the trailer for this last year. Didn't this already come out? I saw the trailer for this in, when was it, July or August of 2025. It's May 26th. I thought this already came out. I think that's the problem by moving it. I don't know what the situation is. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a re-edit or a reshoot that you have to do in short order here. I'm not going to assume. All we know is that an October release, which is weeks from now, is now going to be a May 2026 release. But let's keep looking ahead here on the closer range of releases with our September preview of the biggest movies hitting screens this month. Let's start with what is promising to be the biggest title released in September, The Conjuring Last Rites, which I'm assuming is the last entry in this Conjuring franchise.
It's based on the last case that Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson did. So I think it's quote unquote final, with room for it to not be final if it makes nothing ever dies in horror.
Well, we've got a $40 to $50 million opening weekend range for The Conjuring Last Rites. Some positive traction here. I could even see this overperforming if word of mouth is positive, maybe even climbing to a mid-50s opening weekend. But right now, I think that 40 to 50 opening range would at least make this the best new opener since Weapons. It's been a while. And lo and behold, another horror movie coming in to take that place.
Yeah, I think it's on track to be the best opening of The Conjuring. Not necessarily all the spin-offs, but
like the
core Conjuring
franchise.
Yeah, that would make sense. I still haven't seen a single one of these movies.
I really enjoy the sort of main storyline with the Warrens. The spin-offs, not as much.
So what's the deal with the Warrens? They just go to haunted houses? That's what they do? And they'll exercise a demon in there? What's going on there?
Well, it's a real couple that used to be paranormal investigators.
If this ends up not being the last one, we'll do one of those look back episodes here on the podcast where I have to rewatch all of these with you guys to talk about them for 3 hours. But that's not going to happen this week because I don't have the time. Let's now move over to September 12th, where we've got 3 movies opening up. And the last of those three that I expected to be the number one movie might just beat The Conjuring Last Rites to be the best opening weekend in September. That is from Crunchyroll, Demon Slayer, the movie Infinity Castle. It's already made a ton of money overseas, currently tracking at the same pace that The Conjuring Last Rites is, a $40 to $50 million opening weekend in North America. This might be one of the biggest anime titles of all time on domestic soil. And it's still demon stuff. We're just doing demon stuff at 40 million all month, apparently. That's fine. It's once an anime, once a franchise. We'll keep on going until Halloween.
One's the British aristocracy.
Yeah, once a British artist, yes. Again, things that never die. Because Downton Abbey, the grand finale, is coming back after a disappointing performance in the second big screen entry.
Performance-wise, it came out when? It was like one of the very early...
Probably like 3 weeks after Mortal Kombat did.
Yeah, like what were they supposed to do?
Yeah, they did the best they could. So at least we're giving them a proper send-off here. And the tracking confirms it. It's doing pretty well as of today, currently tracking between $18 to $25 million. On
this movie for me has, the kids are back in school. I'm going to go out with my fellow wine moms and see this movie. Energy.
A wine mom movie. Everybody likes a wine mom movie. Wine moms like wine mom movies.
I'm going to see it for the costumes. It's a costume movie.
That's all you have to do, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I think I was trying to think if there have been any other television series that have gone on to have their own trilogy of films. Yeah, I can't think of any.
I guess Naked Gun?
Guys, Naked Gun, yes, that's a good shout.
Naked Gun,
Mission Impossible is an obvious one.
But with the same cast and the same creator.
Not like a reboot.
Not a reboot. Ooh, that's a good call. Yeah, I can't think of one. Yeah, that's a good shout.
I can't either. It's kind of a phenomenon.
I think that's something that stands out in just how beloved this series is. Now, the third movie coming out that weekend from Lionsgate is a Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk, currently tracking between a $10 to $15 million opening weekend. But what I really want to highlight is our friend Paul Farnsworth from B&B Theaters. Did you guys hear about this stunt that he pulled off?
Yep.
Wonderful story here. Paul, that works in the marketing team over at B&B Theaters, got on a treadmill and put it on 3 miles per hour, read the entire novella, the entire book that the movie's based on, The Long Walk, while walking on that treadmill down in, I think it was in their Liberty location for B&B Theaters. He didn't have to do this. He still gets his paycheck without having to do this. But I appreciate him really advertising marketing campaigns for something like this.
Am I wrong? And Lionsgate is hosting screenings where you have to walk on the treadmill for 3 months.
Have you guys ever seen a movie like on a treadmill or on a bike at all? It's hard to focus. And not the best. I don't know. I did the entire running time on my end. I was just curious if you guys have done an entire feature during a gym session.
No,
probably not.
It looks like this is the one screening in Los Angeles. So
they actually did get treadmills in Los Angeles for a 3 mile per hour walk screening of the movie.
Yep, and apparently it's not general public. It's like an influencers thing. And if you fall underneath the 3 miles per hour enough, you're going to get booted out.
On the next weekend, we've got opening on September 19th from the normally art house director, Kogonada, a new title from a major studio and 2 big stars in Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, currently tracking to open between $10 and $15 million. And if you thought we'd get through another weekend in September without more demons, you're wrong, because on September 19th, Him, produced by Jordan Peele, is coming out and is currently tracking to open between $15 and $25 million. This is a movie of a football player mounting a comeback after selling his soul to the devil, which is basically a documentary about the Alabama Crimson Tide after the joining of Nick Saban as his head coach.
Yeah, the director, he did a previous film called Kicks from back in 2016 that I really enjoyed. The little kid gets his shoes stolen and goes on a kind of Oakland odyssey to get his shoes. It was really fun. It was visually very interesting. And I think tickets for this just went on sale like right before. So as soon as we stop recording, I gotta start coordinating with Eric to snap up because it is doing IMAX. That and One Battle After Another. I definitely want to prioritize premium formats.
And that's the movie coming out the following weekend from P.T. Anderson, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another. Surprised that it's getting an IMAX run, but pleasantly surprised that it is. I'm glad that P.T. Anderson went from somewhat niche filmmaker to an event filmmaker in this day and age where his movies are either in 70 millimeter or in IMAX. I cannot wait for this, currently tracking to open between $15 and $25 million. Of course, movies coming out in the second half of the month, those tracking numbers are going to be influenced significantly once the pre-sales period begins. This is circled on my calendar as my, let's say, most wanted movie of the month of September. And we've got two counter programmers here. On the children's movie that no one recording this will see side is something called Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, tracking surprisingly well. It's actually right neck and neck right now with One Battle After Another in that $15 to $25 million range, which is news to me because I have never heard or have reason to hear about Gabby's Dollhouse. I don't even know if the marketing materials have started going out, but a lot of parents tell me that this is a beloved franchise for children.
I think my niece really enjoys it, but looking at the calendar, this is the one for families in September.
We're just going to have your niece here on the podcast.
I know. I need her.
Because she can probably guide us through a lot of these movies.
Exactly.
Probably not this one, though, from Lionsgate, The Strangers, Chapter 2.
Let's hope not.
Stranger series. Chad Sneeze will not be watching this in theaters for a number of years. But I have a feeling, Rebecca, that you might be going back. Did you end up watching the first prequel, Chapter 1?
I didn't, because I watched the first Strangers and then I saw the second one that was not good. So it's kind of one that hasn't super been on my radar, but I do know that the Strangers Chapter 1 was for Lionsgate was a pretty solid release for them in a pretty rough year. So it's on my list of things to catch up on as we approach Halloween.
Yeah, I missed Chapter 1 too, but I think the one thing this has going for it, they filmed all three of them within the same period of time. So unlike a lot of horror movies that are then just capitalizing on sequels, there is maybe a little more forethought in how these are being planned out. So I do need to catch up with it too.
Anything coming out from Lionsgate needs a little bit of help and support. Same thing for Sony. I think Lionsgate and Sony being the two studios that haven't really been performing to what we've expected from them in the past. And those numbers, I think, trickle down to what we saw over the summer, which we do have to mention came in more or less flat to down from last year. Close to $3.6 billion, but on a year-to-year comparison, just slightly under 2024 figures here for the summer. Looking at a monthly basis, every single month of the summer, that means full months, June, July, August, was down year over year. And it was really a very strong Memorial Day season that helped us get as close as we did to that 2024 $3.6 billion mark. Guys, I don't know what to say in this summer recap segment of the episode other than things got off to a great start with a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. But by the time we got onto week 2 and 3 of August, it seemed like all of that momentum just fizzled and left the room.
Looking at kind of our list here of films that disappointed, I saw all of them except for one. And for the majority of the titles on this list, I am kind of scratching my head a little bit why they didn't do better, because I had a great time at quite a few of these.
There's nothing that's like
Bad
a
or
Joker
wrong
fully on June level. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, let's go over that list and share it with our listeners, because we basically got the summer box office numbers and segmented a list into 3 tiers. Tier 1 is going to be your hits or your surprises. Tier 2, a could have done better, meaning it wasn't a disappointment, but you expected more out of it. And a tier 3, just a flat out disappointment. And that tier 3 list that Chad is mentioning, that you saw the majority of these titles, at the bottom of that list is Megan 2.0 with a $24 million domestic total. I don't think anyone expected Megan 2.0 to be a $100 million movie. That might have been its ceiling at some point. But you did expect this to make at least 50, maybe going up to as high as 80 million, best case scenario. But the fact that it could just limp to a $24 million domestic run in theaters, This is probably the loudest disappointment of the bunch. And it's starting to lead into questions on that box office power of Blumhouse, right? They
They've
really
not
haven't
been
had
having a good year.
no, they haven't had an all-out hit. And we've got Five Nights at Freddy's 2 coming out at the end of the year. And that's really going to have to perform to save the year for a very disappointing slate from Blumhouse across every studio.
The Black Phone 2 is also Blumhouse, right?
Yeah.
So they've got that in
And
October.
that should do well, right? I mean,
I like the first one.
I think there's a lot of goodwill from the first movie. And we could have said the exact same thing about Megan 2.0. There was goodwill after the first Megan. I think the marketing campaign sold a campier movie than people were willing to watch over the summer. And that's why it leads in this tier 3 list in disappointments. I have to come up with the next title here from Paramount. When we saw all of the time that Paramount dedicated to Smurfs at CinemaCon 2020, was it 2023? Might have been 23 or 24. I forget. It was a couple of years back. They brought out Rihanna. It seemed like it was going to be their version of a Trolls movie. By Trolls, I mean the Universal franchise. But after a $31 million domestic run, I don't think we're going to be seeing much of anything from this iteration of the Smurfs anymore. On IP alone, you really thought this could perform much better. And this is the second summer where an established IP that is being rebooted fails. Because don't forget, when was that Memorial Day weekend where we had the Garfield movie come out? And that also completely whiffed with audiences. Add that to the list just because that nostalgia factor from an 80s cartoon may be there with the parents doesn't translate into I want to take my kids to it.
Yeah, it's like a reverse Gabby's Dollhouse situation. The parents know what it is.
Yeah,
The kids maybe don't care.
Another disappointing title here, dealing on the nostalgia side of things. We have a couple in this 1-2 punch from Sony. I Know What You Did Last Summer, $32 million domestic run. That didn't seem like a super expensive movie to make, but we did see Scream being rebooted a couple years ago to franchise record highs. That just didn't extend itself to I Know What You Did Last Summer. Chad, you saw this movie. Why don't you think it worked with audiences?
Well, I think that audiences may not have realized what the director was going for, in my opinion, was really leaning into the camp and kind of spoofing this entire 90s slasher genre through this kind of reboot sequel. I think that's what she intended, but I think a lot of audiences probably left that movie maybe scratching their heads.
And this wasn't the movie that I think was destined to make $100 million, but again, you kind of think it could easily clear that $50 million mark. And you add some of these titles up that should have made twice as much as they did. And yeah, you start getting into issues. Yeah, I do think that Megan made 24 million in theaters, could have made 50. Smurfs 31 should have made 60. I Know What You Did Last Summer, maybe not 100, but that's a 60, $65 million earner. I'm going to say the exact same thing about this other nostalgia title from Sony, Karate Kid Legends. At one point on the schedule to be released in Christmas of last year, it gets moved, supposedly because coming out in late May is going to be a better call. But no, it turns out there was no good time to release this movie in theaters. A $52 million domestic total on a movie that I think should have made 100 domestically.
I feel like it's sort of in the same vein as how you describe I Know What You Did Last Summer, Chad, in the sense of it was a very solid, well done, not super like original or anything, take on an established genre. Like it's a solid like PG sports movie for kids.
Yeah.
It's by the numbers, but like the fight scenes were really good. I'm definitely not the Karate Kid audience, but I had an okay time with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it has that nostalgia factor.
Another movie that I thought was also an acceptable, entertaining film that just didn't find its audience was Ballerina from Lionsgate. And this is alarming because this was supposed to be the big comeback movie for Lionsgate over the summer. It was supposed to go out last year. They put it on the shelf for an entire year. It comes out in theaters, only manages to make $58 million as a John Wick spinoff. Again, I didn't expect John Wick numbers from Ballerina, but you think it could have made 70, $80 million at the very least. And 58, yeah, there's a drop off there that I don't think people are going to be happy with. And I don't think the reshoots and I don't think keeping it in the freezer for a year made any difference whatsoever in the financial performance of this title.
Well, we were talking about Mortal Kombat earlier, and I do remember there being a period with Ballerina where there was a lot of hype, and then it got moved again. And so you do wonder what is the impact of that kind of a move.
There is such a thing as marinating things a little bit too long. And that is my concern with that Mortal Kombat 2 release date change. Elio from Pixar, probably one of the biggest disappointments of the year, an alarming disappointment for Disney, $72 million domestic. I mean, an unacceptable performance for a Pixar title to not break 100 million.
And we're not talking like an Encanto situation where it's something that opens soft and then kind of keeps that momentum going.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And ballerina-esque in terms of kind of behind the scenes fiddling.
Yeah, fiddling with the movie way too much. You cannot have a movie from a blue chip IP or studio, a division, which is Pixar, perform at that level with a prime release date over the summer. And when you do, the box office is going to feel it. Last year, Inside Out 2 reinvigorated the box office. A $72 million outing from Elio is one of the big reasons why we don't have a box office this year that was above last summer's box office. This was a loud disappointment for Disney. And I'm starting to get concerned about the future of Pixar originals. There's another Toy Story in the works. I don't know. This is just a division that could do no wrong for, it feels like, 2 decades. And now that quality control is lacking, I think, when it comes to Pixar titles.
And what they ended up with, it is a cute movie. I think the audience that I saw it with definitely enjoyed it and had a good time with it. But does it carry the kind of prestige that we've seen with some of those big Pixar titles in the past?
The expectations weren't met, right? It's not a reflection on the film itself, but the box office expectations of a release date like that, of a studio like that, of the track record of Pixar means that if you have a $72 million outing for a movie like this on the schedule, you're going to have a bad summer. It's just a fact. It's going to be really hard to have a good summer when one of your cornerstone spots on the schedule whiffs like this. And that was the difference last year between a good summer and a bad one, was Inside Out 2 being a monster movie. All we needed here was Elio to hit its mark, and it didn't. And you combine that with every other movie that we've just listed in this tier 3 of disappointments. All of these movies that we listed, Megan 2.0, Smurfs, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Karate Kid Legends, Ballerina, and Elio, I feel should have done twice the number of grosses that it did domestically in their theatrical run, just 2x. And they made half of what they should have. And I think when we take a stock of the entire performance at the summer box office, that's really what weighed us down. It wasn't just one movie. It was a number of films that just performed well below expectations, unfortunately. Let's go to our tier 2 list here. A slightly shorter list. These are movies that could have done better. That means a decently strong opening weekend, but just fizzled out as weeks kept on passing. We're going to start with a title that Rebecca, Chad, and I were really looking forward to, that I think had really strong reception. Pretty good opening weekend, 28 years later from Sony. How this movie goes from a great opening weekend to a $70 million run over the summer is beyond me. It could be even better.
Part of it is, I mean, you have the word getting out that it's like half a movie, and I liked it, but I'm waiting, like, Jack O'Connell just had a really good turn in Sinners. Like, he was, I'm into him as an actor, and he shows up and the movie's over. It was good. Other than that, I enjoyed Crazy Rafe Fiennes' Zombie Coroner, but it seems like leaving it where it did, knowing that Thea DaCosta's Bone Temple is coming out, I can imagine a lot of people would just like, I'll wait.
Yeah, I have a feeling that when you get out of Sinners and Weapons, which were 2, marquee movies of the year so far, you come out and you tell people you have to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go see this at the movies. I came out of 28 years later thinking, man, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's another thing coming out. And like it ends in a cliffhanger and it's coming out in January. It's fun, but rather than drop everything and go see this.
It's a better movie if it comes out in March.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think any of us are going to have a lot of analysis for the financial performance of The Bad Guys 2, which made $74 million over the summer. But considering the performance of the first title, Yeah, maybe this one could have held on a little bit better, maybe 80, 90 million. It's not something like a tier 3 list where The Bad Guys 2 was supposed to make 150 million, but it's 74 million. It's kind of like 28 years later. 70 million, maybe should have made 100. Bad Guys 2 is 74 million. Had it had a little bit more buzz behind it, you could see this stretching out to $100 million in a good summer. It just didn't get there. But the loudest combo of movies that I think were supposed to help us in the summer, specifically in the month of August, that just didn't perform the way we wanted them to, both came from Disney. And the first one's going to be a more or less obvious movie, Freakier Friday, which made $82 million when it was released in early August through the end of Labor Day weekend. It's still in theaters. It's going to be making more money in the coming weeks. But with everything riding behind it, with nothing else like it on the calendar, I really thought Freakier Friday should have held on better in ensuing weeks to help salvage a very weak back half of August. Made at least $100 million in the box office. Instead, just kind of sputters out with 82 million, a disappointing figure. And the combo movie to this is the movie that actually came out in July that we all expected to hold on and fill theaters well into August, The Fantastic Four. Guys, this movie had a $118 million opening weekend, one of the best opening weekends of the year, a massive 66% drop in week 2. And its $266 million domestic run over the summer is going to make it one of the best performing movies of the year, but it should have done better. I am convinced this movie should have played better throughout August. I know, Chad, you liked it. I personally didn't. I did not like the movie at all. Rebecca, did you get to catch it?
I liked it okay, but it just didn't get those repeat viewers that I think previous big Marvel movies, introduction of these characters have gotten. But yeah, I mean, it was just, I don't know, maybe the marketing didn't help it in terms of positioning it as this is going to indicate the direction of the MCU from here on. This is our big new, and then the movie came out and it was good. It was good. It felt like there was too much writing on it, maybe.
Maybe, I guess so. And again, an opening weekend performance that was very good. I can't understand the drop other than the fact that as someone that went into the movie because of the word of mouth being so positive, I was really disappointed with something that felt like a TV show a little bit.
There weren't all the Easter eggs and the references, and there wasn't really anything, much meat to it.
No, I didn't think there was much substance. They have a moral question that they introduce halfway through the movie where this Galactus guy wants their unborn child, which is a fascinating element to introduce into a movie like this. And then they just kind of abandon it. They don't really prod at it or poke at it. Then it just turns into a dumb, action movie by the end.
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby gives a speech to 24 people, and then that's
it. You resolve it,
yeah.
Right? It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's a part of the problem here is probably my expectations for the movie. I really did expect it to be much better. But you compare it to how the other Marvel movies did this year, both Captain America, A Brave New World, and the Thunderbolts. I didn't see Captain America. I did see Thunderbolts. I really liked Thunderbolts. I thought that was a really, really good movie that couldn't even break 200 million at the box office. I don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit worried for Marvel as we approach Avengers Doomsday next year, because movies that open well don't stay, and movies that I think have more to them and could find an audience after opening weekend, like Thunderbolts, aren't doing that. So we're going to have to see how that evolves in the coming years, really, because we need these Marvel movies to work at the box office. Moving over to the tier 1 movies, the hits of the summer. It's a little bit out of left field to start this list. Let's go with Materialists from Celine Song, the writer-director. It might sound a little bit silly to introduce a $36 million movie among the summer hits, but for a movie of this scale, you need an overperformance like that to get on the radar, to give the filmmaker more opportunities, to get more movies like this made. And I think Materialists passed every test in front of it. For a movie like this, 36 million, I think is pretty good. And it just reminded me of major studio movies from 15, 20 years ago. You've got A-list stars, you've got a great script, and you've got a really entertaining movie for adults. I know, Chad, you really like this movie as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. And it is something, as we're looking at all these titles, that I feel like we're missing. right? Is we have a lot of sequels, we have a lot of big tent poles, but we need more of this kind of title that can come in, satisfy an audience, be successful, have good word of mouth, be a great film to balance out maybe some of that sequel fatigue that we're starting to see.
Yeah. And a counterpoint to this is a movie that I'm not putting on any of these tiers because I don't think we really had established expectations for The Naked Gun. But the fact that The Naked Gun couldn't really break through to become a hit is disappointing in the sense that more movies like it probably won't get fast tracked. This is the opposite of that situation. There wasn't much of an expectation for Materialist to do this well. It exceeded every expectation. And what I'm hoping is we'll see more actors take roles like this one and scripts like this one for upcoming projects. Released theatrically, because in streaming, you can find a lot of similar movies. Not this good, but there's more of a choice if you want this genre. Now, if Freakier Friday and Fantastic Four weren't able to carry August, the movie that was able to carry the month was Weapons. Obviously, one of the biggest surprises of the summer, made $134 million since being released in the, let's say, waning weeks of the summer season. It'll make more money as the fall months start in the coming weeks. But $134 million for a movie like this, I don't think there was any guarantee that Weapons was going to be a $100 million movie coming into the summer. Now it's one of the hottest movies of the year. I think along with Sinners, probably the most exciting movie-going experience for me personally. Rebecca, you had a similar experience.
Yeah, the word of mouth was so good on that. And not only was it, talking about how good the movie was, but it really had this element of you have to go see it right away because you don't want to get spoiled for everything. And then it was good enough that people kept going back. I saw it in theaters twice. Yeah, it was a lot more fun than I anticipated it was going to be. So it feels like a little bit like last year's Long Legs situation.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a really good shout. But obviously, at $100 million plus level, Weapons plays a more strategic role in running out the market. And it really saved us from some truly scary August weekends at the box office, just competing and holding on as competitively as it did. The following movies I'm about to list, I think, are maybe not surprises, but performed well enough to put us in a good position. F1, again, a movie that had no guarantees on the domestic market coming in. I think it was a very appealing title, especially in premium format for audiences looking for something original. A $188 million domestic run. Its overseas run was even better, but $188 million domestically. I think before the year started, if you told me this was a possibility, I'd say that's an overperformance for F1. So that's a solid win for Apple at the box office. Another really good performance, if we look at the whole franchise, is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Chad, this got close to 200 million. It didn't quite get there, but how does it stack up against the other movies in the Mission Impossible franchise?
Yeah, at just over 197 million. It comes in fourth out of the 8 films. Fallout was really the height, I think, of this franchise at the box office at 220. But yeah, still a solid performance for a series and a franchise that was on its 8th film.
Yeah, definitely not an overperformance, not a surprise. I think it hit its mark. You could argue that we could probably put that in tier 2 on movies that maybe could have done better after that opening weekend, but no one's going to complain with a near $200 million run for this movie. I'm going to say the same thing about Jurassic World Rebirth, a franchise that did really, really well when Jurassic World kind of revitalized everything, but then kind of started losing steam with the 2 sequels that followed. How does Jurassic World Rebirth kind of stack up in that Jurassic World picture?
Yeah, so it is the lowest of the Jurassic World films, so it does come in fourth. But again, it's kind of like a solid performance in a long-running franchise.
It's hard for us to say $338 million, especially this summer, is not good enough. We'll call it a hit because it's obviously one of the biggest films of the summer, but I don't think it's an overperformance by any means.
It was not so much a soft reboot. Obviously, it's still a sequel to the previous 3 films, but it does introduce a new cast, introduces new concepts, a new time period. It feels like they meant this to kind of spring off into maybe the next 2, 3, 4 films. And does it have the juice for that?
You have to think that the dip here in Jurassic World Rebirth was expected coming into it, because you could see the trend. That's why I wouldn't call it a disappointment. It could have done it a little bit better. I'm not even sure, honestly. So I do think these long running franchises, both in the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World series, and Mission Impossible, they hit their marks. We'll call them hits because they did what they were supposed to. They were tentpoles that got people in theaters, but by no means over performances. Now, I'm not sure if we can call How to Train Your Dragon's live action remake blockbuster super performance. But again, based on an IP that had been around for a while, coming back and relaunching things, 262 million domestic, I think that's another example of hitting your marks, of doing what you're supposed to do on the calendar. I think a result that a lot of exhibitors were happy with.
When you compare this film to something that I think came out a couple of weeks, but Elio came out. This one just hit in a whole different way. This, and we have later on this tier another children's movie that I think we're just too old to have that nostalgic connection to some of these things. I did not see the How to Train Your Dragon movies as a child, but clearly a lot of people do have a very strong connection there.
And that movie that Rebecca is referring to is Lilo and Stitch from Disney, which just is the one big monster hit of the year. And Disney's saving grace in a very disappointing year for the studio. Over $400 million domestically, the only film of 2025 to date to cross the $400 million mark. This movie released over Memorial Day weekend, packed theaters for a good chunk of that early summer. And if we go back to that May 23rd weekend, guys, things looked a lot rosier than they do now in this sun-scorched box office by the end of August. Lilo and Stitch, I think, really brought in an excitement that we really needed in early May. Now we need something like that, to come up in November, October. And another breath of fresh air here, I thought, was Superman, actually, from Warner Brothers. Again, a movie that I'm not sure if we can call it an overperformance, but it was definitely a blockbuster. I think it definitely did great business domestically. I think exhibitors will be happy with that $351 million that it made domestically. Overseas, a different story for Superman. But when it comes to North America, the numbers are there. And the film might make it to my top 10 by year end, which is not something I expected. I really didn't expect to love Superman as much as I did.
Yeah, same. It threaded that needle of, I think, being part. Obviously, it's part of a well-established, well-trodden franchise, but it didn't try to do the origin story thing. It felt like a good way of breathing some new life into an old property that wasn't just kind of a by the books retread.
And for a movie like this, Rebecca, that comes on the heels of other reboots, other relaunches, other appearances from the superhero, a number of sequels that everybody got tired with, to feel fresh and exciting is a really big ask, I think, of the filmmakers. And I think they pulled it off. I had a fantastic time watching this. Really a pleasant movie-going experience. And definitely, I think, worth the entrant here in our Tier 1 list of the hits of summer 2025. Again, a flat to down summer 2025 at the box office year over year. But things are going to be looking, I think, much better coming into the fall months. People are coming back into theaters. More exciting films are hitting that release schedule. We just previewed a number of them earlier in this conversation. And to talk about that joy in moviegoing, about that eventizing part of the moviegoing experience, Rebecca, you spoke with Sam Owens, this chief marketing officer from Frazzle, frozen blended beverage drink company that is having a bigger and bigger presence at concession stand nationwide.
Yeah, you know me. I love my concession stand. It was a really interesting conversation for a product that I'm excited to try.
And that conversation is coming up after this commercial break.
Movies are the peak of human experience. The powerful sound effects, dazzling visuals, and height of emotion make it an unrivaled mix of sensations. The superior intensity of the movie experience should only ever be paired with superior refreshments. This is where Frazzle and Cafe Tango shine. Frazzle Slush and Cafe Tango frozen coffee are the best slush on the planet, according to consumer tests. The cold, delicious taste plays perfectly with the salty, buttery popcorn, making it the perfect popcorn partner. Let the slush companion of your choice guide you through the highs and lows of any movie you choose to watch. They'll provide the amazing flavor and experience. You just need to sit back and relax.
Find them at FRAZIL.com.
I'm speaking now with Sam Owens, CMO at Frazzle. Sam, how are you doing today? I'm super excited to hear about all the fun things you have going on.
Doing great. I'm excited as well. Thanks for having me on.
To start, for people who maybe aren't familiar, can you give us a little overview of Frazzle as the overarching brand?
Yeah. So Frazzle's been around about 20 years. Actually started, funny enough, kind of as a snow cone business, and then quickly converted over to slushies at C-stores. So we are, like I said, 20 years in. We're in about 45,000 machines in about 25,000 locations across every state in the US. And we've been growing at a pretty rapid clip. Over the last couple of years, we've really gotten scale in the C-store business. So we started to expand into other channels, bowling alleys, movie theaters, hospitals, other places, basically just where people love Frazzle. We also have another business called Cafe Tango, which is a frozen coffee business that's been around 2 to 3 years. And we're seeing really strong results with that as people, as you may know, frozen coffee is, even at Starbucks, they sell more cold coffee than hot coffee now. And so frozen coffee, blended coffee is a huge trend. And so now we're kind of seeing an incremental business develop around frozen coffee as well.
I was at a ballpark just the other week. They were selling coffee. I'm like, it's hot out. I don't want to, but why do I want hot? Iced is really, I mean, this time of year, you got to have it.
Yeah, it's a great, even morning this time of year, but even year round, we're finding the afternoon pick me up. People love a cold coffee treat.
So you have Cafe Tango with the iced coffee, and then the slush element is Frazzle. What else is under the Frazzle brand? Because I know you have a lot of different products, different avenues.
Yeah, so we have several flavors of Frazzle, kind of our top Tiger's Blood and Blue Razzmatazz, kind of red and blue. Those are our real top ones. But we also have some unique flavors that people love. I suppose Tiger's Blood in itself is unique. It's different from your typical cherry or something like that. It's kind of very ownable. It is a traditional snow cone flavor that people have grown to love. And then we have some unique flavors like Pog, passion fruit, orange, guava, and some like that Bermuda Triangle, which is kind of a tropical flavor. So really our enthusiasts come for our flavor variety and kind of the hunt and what they can find. We also have a Frazzle Energy line, which is a caffeinated product. So we have 4 flavors of energy, and that really targets those that love slushy, but also love energy and energy drinks rather. And so we have 4 flavors there, and we see that really successful in select locations. I mean, truck stops, basically where you could see someone coming in, a high indexing energy consumer, Frazzle Energy does well there as well.
What is it that sets Frazzle apart from other slushy brands, on top of the energy components? And I love Tiger Blood.
Yeah, it's great. Tiger's Blood, it's a great flavor. So most people don't know this, but there are 2 distinct breaks in the slushy category. There's frozen carbonated and frozen uncarbonated. Okay. And so frozen carbonated would be like your traditional icy Slurpee, stuff like that. And frozen uncarbonated is kind of where we play. It's a different mouthfeel. It's a different texture. People like the carbonated because they like kind of the carbonated, fluffy feel. People love Frazzle because it's more dense, almost like when a snow cone starts to melt and you can kind of drink it, more substantial. And one of the things they love about it most is that it's the same texture all the way through. And so, whereas when you're kind of drinking something carbonated, frozen carbonated, you can kind of suck out all the flavor and like you're kind of left. Yeah, exactly. Yep, you got it. I see you're using your finger. That's what everyone does when they talk about it. They're like, yep, that ice, that 3 inches of ice at the bottom that doesn't have any flavor. Frazzle doesn't do that. And what we found is that Frazzle and icy or Slurpee, whatever, can actually go really well together. People think it's one or the other. It's not one or the other. They go really well together because it is mostly a different consumer with different preferences. So by just offering one, you are a little bit giving up a consumer that likes a particular thing. So Frazzle is a great incremental, and Cafe Tango, it's great incremental to have a frozen uncarbonated because there is a distinct consumer who wants that, specifically wants that texture, wants that flavor, wants that taste.
Yeah, there are people who maybe when they go to the movies, they'll buy a water or, something that they want to stay away from the soda, from the caffeine. And now you would have an additional option for them.
That's right. Exactly. Yep. A frozen treat. Yeah.
I know one of the unique elements as well. I've heard a little bit about the Frazzle business model. Could you speak a little bit about that and how you operate from a business perspective?
Yeah. We try to make it super easy for our retailers, anyone who's selling Frazzle, to start the program. So we have a program where we basically loan our retailers the machine. Mm-hmm. And so they can have that free of cost as long as they continue to order our product. Mm-hmm. And we do all the maintenance on it. If it breaks, there's a QR code you scan. We're in there within a couple of days fixing it up for you. So it's really, we saw a gap in the industry in general. Operators, movie theaters, bowling alleys, whatever, convenience stores. One of their biggest pain points, number one, is labor, right? That's hard. But number two is machines breaking down. It's a huge pain point. And when a C-store or a movie theater or whoever owns their own machine, they have to deal with it when it breaks down. And so our program makes it super easy for a retailer, a theater, just to say yes. And then the rest is taken care of. All they have to do is order the product and they can just start making money immediately. They don't have to worry about all the other things that come with managing a machine program.
And if there is, something happens, God forbid, or if there are maintenance issues, they just scan the QR code and someone comes out.
Exactly. In a couple of days. I mean, it's pretty quick. We've built something we've built on the back end. We saw this gap and there really wasn't something in the industry that solved it. So we built our own infrastructure around it. And we, depending on the area of the country, we usually have like 3 different organizations that can come and help. And we have really deep coverage on who can help. It's not like, oh, you're in Alabama. Sorry, we don't have a tech. Our tech is actually in New York. It's not like that. We have them all over the country, many different levels of coverage. So, our retailers sleep at night pretty well knowing like, okay, I got a machine and it's going to be taken care of. It's not going to go down when I launch a critical movie or something like that. Like it's going to be fine. So that gives our retailers a lot of peace of mind and keeps the machines up and running, because that's critical. Downtime can kill your business. Oh, we were down for 3 weeks with this machine. It's like, well, that has a big impact on your year. So we really reduce downtime on machines, which makes sure that, sales and profits can continue to roll in for them.
A lot of our listeners are going to be wondering about, well, maybe I have, through maybe it's an independent theater or working through a chain, I have a contract with Coca-Cola or with Pepsi, or a contract where I feel like I'm locked in to the freestyle machine or to a particular, soda. How does that work for them if they want to try Frazzle out as well?
Yeah. So sometimes, candidly, it is a challenge and you do have to wait for renewal to renegotiate if that is locked out. But a lot of times there's provisions for other frozen, uncarbonated businesses. So we have seen there is the ability to kind of work around those contracts and negotiate. But also there's almost always a provision for coffee, because a lot of times these contracts are specific to kind of soda, fruity type stuff, slushy, icy type stuff. But for coffee, a lot of times it's just a totally different category, totally different business. I mean, movie theaters, they can offer coffee free of any contractual obligations. So Cafe Tango can be a very big win for a lot of retailers as well. If they have to wait for their contract to renew, or if negotiations are hard or something like that, Cafe Tango is a great option.
And, while they're reaching out for Cafe Tango, they could talk to you. I mean, there are workarounds. It's not something that is 100% necessarily impossible.
That's right. They're definitely, sometimes contracts are written differently, but we found there are workarounds and there are ways to make it happen. Yep.
You've recently been expanding more outside of, the traditional gas stations and convenience stores into movie theaters. What are some of the theaters that you operate in?
Yeah, so we're just getting going. Right now we got 152 machines in about 120 theaters around the country. Probably our biggest customer is Galaxy Theaters. But again, we are just getting started. So I think last year we went to some trade shows and we're seeing really good response. The exciting thing is Galaxy is loving it, and other theaters are loving it, and they're seeing people really respond to it and the excitement around it. So we're very optimistic for the future. That's the biggest thing with getting into new categories and businesses, is making sure that the small footprint you do have does well. And we're checking the box on that. That's like the most important thing. So we're confident it will continue to grow because it's doing well where it's at.
Who do you work with in terms of distributors? Are they the same companies that these movie theaters are probably working with already, some of the bigger players?
Right now, Gold Medal is a big one that we work with out east. And we are in some US Foods and Cisco houses and continue to grow there. We also will direct ship to customers, to retailers. If there is not a distributor match right now, we will direct ship as long as some minimums are hit, which those minimums aren't a problem for most theaters. So yeah, we can get the product to you if you're willing to give us a try. From a consumer standpoint, as I'm going up to get my my Tiger blood before the movie starts, what is the system like? Is it something that is it like a learning curve or training or anything like that? Well, what's the experience like for a movie theater customer? It's super easy. And one of the reasons it's such a great fit with movie theaters and why it's doing so well is that when you go to a movie theater, you're on vacation, right? You're ready for a little sweet treat. And Frazzle is exactly that. It's kind of a nostalgic, it's a special occasion type thing. It's not like a Diet Coke or something like that. You just get it's something special, and people are really excited about it. Very easy. I mean, it's you just purchase it, they'll give you a cup and you fill it up. It's kind of like just a little nozzle. You fill it up, super intuitive, just like you were going to get a soda or something else. And it's very hard to miss. That's another thing that attracts people to it is you look at some of the other machines and they look nice, but what's nice about Frazzle and what our consumers love is there's these big shiny bowls and you can see the motion of the product churning in there. And so you can see people walking in and just looking at it. It really draws the eye immediately. So there's no issues of like, oh, how do they know there's Frazzle here? You'll see it for sure because of the vibrant, beautiful product inside the bowls. It's right there. It's not like out of syrup or out of anything. No, it's right there, and it's easy. It's easy to see. Yeah. As far as the retailers, and talk about syrup, because there are sometimes you do see these machines and they're out of order and stuff like that. This one is really easy. It's just a pour over. It's a mixed product and it's poured over. So all you have to do is just keep refilling it. It's a very simple machine. And simple machines are good because they don't break very much. And so it's really simple process. So it depends on the movie theater. Sometimes it's self-serve where they just say, go fill it up yourself. And other times you just see it in the back, right by the popcorn machine or whatever. And they just fill it up for you and give it to you. Either way, it's really eye-catching and easy. It's not hard for the consumer to do. And it's certainly not hard for the retailer to do. I like that. Like when you get to do it yourself, I always have fun memories of like trying to fill it to like the millimeter, to the top millimeter of the cup. Oh yeah. Yeah. And let's be honest, you probably try a couple flavors before you make a decision, just try it out a little bit, and we're totally fine with that. That works. Especially when you have so many flavors, kind of, yes, of both, not just the same, like cherry, strawberry. Yeah. And a decent percent of our consumers like to mix anyway. So the product doesn't mix up like soda or something like that. It actually stays. You can see it in the cup. If you want some red, some blue, the red will stay at the bottom and the blue will be at the top. So you really can it's like ice cream almost. You can get a half and half experience without it kind of getting too jumbled up or mixed up. So speaking of, trying all these different flavors, I love free stuff. I think everybody loves free stuff. I've heard a little bit about this free Frazzle. Free Frazzle Friday. Yeah, free Frazzle Friday. I love the alliteration, first of all, but what's the story on that? So we have Free Frazzle Friday, and actually this month we just rolled out Cafe Tango Tuesday. Speaking of alliteration, we're just trying to keep it going. But the concept of Free Frazzle Friday came about 3 years ago when we noticed that it's very simple, actually. We noticed that a lot of consumers didn't know who we were. And that once they tried us, they were hooked and they loved us. And so we just were like, how do we get this product in? How do we get people to try this as fast as possible? We called it Frazzles and Mouse. FIM is what we called it. That's our strategy. Like, how do we just get people to try this product? So we came up with a concept nationally where every Friday in June, a consumer could go into a participating retailer and get a free 12-ounce cup of Frazzle. And people pretty much lost their minds. It did way more than we thought it would. This year, we're coming up on 2 million free cups given away. So it's a lot of product, but it has been worth it to us. It's worth it. It's grown our brand quite a bit. People have come back to it. It's driven a lot of benefit for us. As we look to movie theaters, that is definitely a program we've explored, and we are working to do that with retailers as well. So part of joining the Frazzle, partnering with the Frazzle program, is partnering with our kind of promotion capabilities and things that we can do as well. And so we're excited for the potential of this to bring people into theaters and for the excitement that it can bring. We just got to make sure we can train the retailers on filling up the machines quick enough to make sure that they can supply the free Frazzles for these, or free Cafe Tangos for their customers.
And that's you're going into the concessions area anyway to get your you might as well get some popcorn.
That's right.
Candy or something else like that. It's a really good opportunity on the theater side for upselling.
Yes, it really will just enhance their experience, make them super excited to be in the theater. And we have found that when people redeem a free Frazzle, like you said, about 3/4 of them are going to buy something else. Like, oh, you're giving me something free? Okay, well, I'm just going to buy something else anyway. So you're going to get incremental sales on your other concessions through a program like this.
Like you said, going to a movie, you have to splurge.
Yes. Yeah, you have to. Of course. We all know we pay a price for concessions at movie theaters that we would not pay at a grocery store, right? It's just kind of how it is.
So where can people find, just asking for myself, where some of these retailers are? I mean, Galaxy based out of California, for people who are maybe in a part of the country where there aren't Galaxy theater locations.
Right.
Where can you find where you
so
are?
If you just go to Frazzle.com, there is a store locator where you can see any Frazzle machine anywhere. It actually is, it's pretty slick. It'll show by zip code where a nearest Frazzle is. And you can do the same thing by going to cafetango.com. So really Frazzle.com and cafetango.com both have store locators on it. And you can find the nearest Frazzle or Cafe Tango near you if you want to try it. My guess is whoever's listening, you're probably within a couple miles of a Frazzle and you don't even know it. 45,000 machines all across the US. So you're probably not too far from one.
I'm definitely, as soon as we stop talking, I'm going to go find out.
Check it out.
And that's Frazil. So
that's right.
To get the spelling right there for people going to the website when I check that out. So it's a different take on an old favorite. It's something with a variety of interesting flavors, with a business model that prioritizes, ease on the side of the theater owners in terms of maintenance and in terms of use. I feel like we've talked about a lot of different elements here for people who are maybe still on the fence. On the movie theater side, if someone asks you, okay, I'm thinking about it, but what's your number one, I guess, sales pitch?
Yeah, good question. First of all, Rebecca, great summary. You should join our marketing team. That was perfect. Second of all, I would say just try it. We make it super easy to test. Mm-hmm. We'll bring a machine at no cost to you. You can try it just in like one location. If you don't like it, we'll come take the machine away. The best test is just to try it. You will not be disappointed. You'll see your sales grow incrementally. And so that is my biggest sales pitch is, hey, go try the product, see what you think, because that's our number one strength. We use real sugar. We don't use high fructose corn syrup or anything like that. The flavors are amazing. And then just try it in your location, in your theater, and give it 3 months and then evaluate after and see what you think. And I'm confident you won't look back. And the reason I'm confident is because that's how we've grown. People have tried it with the same kind of sales pitch. Just try it and see what you think. And then after 3 months, they say, okay, I'm keeping it. And by the way, how can I get more machines and how can I expand it?
And you're at trade shows as well. I mean,
we're all over. Yep. CinemaCon, we're there. And, we're going to continue to hit up any trade shows where theater owners are.
And that was Frazzle CMO Sam Owens speaking with Rebecca Pauley from the Box Office Podcast. Please listen to us again next week with a new episode coming out on Thursday. Earlier, you heard from myself, Daniel Aria, and my colleague, Chad Kenner, along with Rebecca Pauley in our new segment. Thanks again for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week.